Welcome to my channel, detailing events throughout the decades. 1981. Hyatt Regency Walkway collapse. Viewer discretion advised. Construction of the Hyatt Regency Hotel began in May 1978. There were delays and setbacks with the construction. An incident on October 14, 1979 occurred, when 2,700 square feet of the atrium roof collapsed, due to the failure of one of the connections at its northern end. Construction difficulties resulted in a subtle but flawed design change that doubled the load on the connection between the fourth-floor walkway support beams and the tie rods carrying the weight of both walkways. This new design was barely adequate to support the dead load weight of the structure itself, let alone the added weight it would get from people. Construction of the Hyatt Regency Hotel was finally completed. The hotel officially opened on July 1, 1980. One of the defining features of the hotel was its lobby, which incorporated a multiple-story atrium, spanned by elevated walkways, suspended from the ceiling. These steel, glass, and concrete crossings connected the second, third, and fourth floors between the north and south wings. These walkways were around 120 feet long, and weighed about 64,000 pounds. The fourth-level walkway aligned directly above the second-level walkway. It was the evening of Friday, July 17, 1981, and around 1,600 people were gathered in the atrium to participate in a tea dance. At around 7:05 that evening, the second-level walkway held about 40 people, with more on the third and fourth level. The fourth walkway was suspended directly over the second-floor walkway, with the third-floor walkway offset several meters from the others. Moments later, the fourth-floor walkway suddenly dropped several inches, before falling completely onto the second-floor walkway. Both walkways later crashed to the lobby floor below, resulting in 111 deaths and 219 injuries. 3 people died after being transported to hospital, bringing the death toll to 114. Many of the survivors of the collapse reported hearing popping noises coming from above them shortly before the collapse. Survivors were trapped, buried beneath more than 60 tons of steel, concrete, and glass. The fire department's most powerful jacks could not move the wreckage. Additional volunteers responded to the fire department's request for help. These included construction companies and building supply stores, bringing to the scene hydraulic jacks, acetylene torches, compressors, jackhammers, concrete saws and generators. The rescue attempt lasted 14 hours. Crews from 34 fire trucks and EMS units attended. Doctors from 5 hospitals were also on scene. Kansas City's Natural Disaster Response Team was also summoned to the scene, with earth-moving equipment, but was quickly sent away to make room for cranes that would lift the walkway sections off the survivors. A makeshift morgue in a ground-floor exhibition area was set up. The hotel's driveway and front lawn was used as a triage area for the injured. One victim's right leg was trapped under an I-beam and had to be amputated by a surgeon, before he could be rescued. This had to be completed using a chainsaw. The challenge to the rescue operation was the hotel sprinkler system, which had been severed by falling debris. This flooded the lobby, and trapped survivors now faced the risk of drowning. Pipes were connected to water tanks and not to the mains water supply, so the flow of water could not be stopped. Mark Williams was the last person to be rescued alive from the rubble, and had spent more than 9.5 hours pinned underneath the lower walkway, with both of his legs pulled out of their sockets. He almost drowned before the Kansas City's fire chief realized that the hotel's front doors were trapping in the water. He ordered bulldozers to break through the doors and allow the water to flow out of the lobby. The lobby was full of concrete dust, which made visibility poor. 29 people were pulled from the rubble alive. 3 days after the disaster, Wayne G. Lishka, an architectural engineer hired by the Kansas City Star newspaper, discovered a significant change to the original design of the walkways. 2 of the walkways were suspended from a set of 1.25-inch diameter steel tie rods, with the second-floor walkway hanging directly under the fourth-floor walkway. The fourth-floor walkway platform was supported on 3 cross beams, suspended by steel rods, retained by nuts. The cross beams were box girders made from C-channel strips, welded together lengthwise, with a hollow space between them. The original design by Jack D. Gillam and Associates specified 3 pairs of rods running from the second floor to the ceiling. Investigators determined that this design supported only 60% of the minimum load required by Kansas City building codes. Haven Steel Company was responsible for manufacturing the rods, objected to the original plan, since it required the hole of the rod below the 4th floor to be screw-threaded in order to screw on the nuts to hold the 4th floor walkway in place. These threads would probably have been damaged and rendered unusable as the structure for the 4th floor was hoisted into position with the rods in place. Haven Steel therefore proposed an alternative plan, in which 2 separate sets of tie rods would be used. One connecting the 4th floor walkway to the ceiling and the other connecting the 2nd floor walkway to the 4th floor. This design change proved fatal. In the original design, the beams of the 4th floor had to support only the weight of the 4th floor, with the weight of the 2nd floor supported completely by the rods. The new design saw the 4th floor beams being required to support both the 4th floor and the 2nd floor. Both designs placed the bolts directly through a welded joint, connecting 2 C-channels, the weakest structural point in the box beams. The original design was for the welds to be on the sides of the box beams, rather than on the top and bottom. During the failure, the box beams split along the weld and the nut supporting them slipped through the resulting gap between the 2 C-channels, which had been welded together. The upper walkway fell several inches as the nut held only by the upper side of the box beams failed, allowing the entire walkway to fall. The problem was a lack of proper communication between Jack D. Gillam and Associates and Haven Steel. Drawings by Jack D. Gillam and Associates were only preliminary sketches, but were interpreted by Haven Steel as finalized drawings. Jack D. Gillam and Associates failed to review the initial design thoroughly and accepted Haven Steel proposed plan without performing basic calculations. In particular, the doubling of the load on the 4th floor beams. Engineers employed by Jack D. Gillam and Associates who had approved the final drawings, were found culpable of gross negligence, misconduct, and unprofessional conduct, in the practice of engineering, by the Missouri Board of Architects, Professional Engineers, and Land Surveyors. However, they were acquitted of all crimes that they were charged with. They all lost their engineering licenses in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, and their membership with ASCE. Jack D. Gillam and Associates were discharged of criminal negligence, but lost its licenses to be an engineering firm in Missouri and Kansas. $140 million was awarded to the victims and their families. After the disaster, the lobby was reconstructed with only one crossing on the 2nd floor. This new bridge is supported by several columns underneath it, rather than being suspended from the ceiling. The 3rd floor of the hotel now has disconnected sections on opposite sides of the atrium, so it is necessary to go to the 2nd floor to get to the other side. The hotel was renamed in 1987 to Hyatt Regency Crown Center. Then again to the Sheraton Kansas City at Crown Center in 2011. In 2008, the Skywalk Memorial Foundation announced a fundraising campaign to build a garden and fountain, commemorating the event in Washington Square Park, about a block from the hotel. On July 17, 2011, 30 years after the collapse, the Skywalk Memorial Foundation unveiled the design for a memorial to be built in Hospital Hill Park. Construction began on July 17, 2015, 34 years after the tragedy, and the completed memorial was presented in a dedication ceremony on November 12, 2015. Forever remembering those who died in this tragedy, may you never be forgotten. Thank you for watching and learning about events throughout history. Please subscribe to my channel, to view other events which are remembered throughout history.